Welcome to episode 562 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Ian Hilton, and finally, I have been waiting weeks, months maybe, to just take a breath and enjoy a multi-goal win and 5 positive headlines. Can you believe it? 5 positive headlines. There are some negative things to say, sure. And if you're here for negativity, I would just say that we're going to have more of that, I think, on the midweek show. So you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel or on your podcast app, because any big negativity will need to wait until the show in a few days, because a 4-0 win at home is just a great thing to enjoy. So let's have some fun for the first time in a while. The 5 headlines from Barca's 4-0 win over Getafe. Headline 1 is Diagnose and Dissect. Even with one foot out the door, my question for Xavi, which I knew the answer would be yes, but would Xavi keep doing his homework? Lame duck coaches don't always necessarily keep up the intensity, but clearly Xavi is showing that even though he's accepted that he's leaving the club, he still wants to give everything he has in these remaining months, because it does, A, set him up for a future job, whatever he wants that to be, so he does want to leave with a little bit of glory, and then B, he obviously loves the club and wants to leave it in a good spot. And so thankfully the answer to this one was yes, he will keep doing his homework, and he has. Maybe it was Bordelas, who was sitting comfortably in the middle of the table, that didn't do his homework for this match, because clearly Xavi got his tactics right and Bordelas got it wrong. Thinking, that being Bordelas, that barely pressing and playing a sloppy high line would work, that seems a bit wishful thinking. I mean, if it did work for other teams this season, which it has, but finally Barcelona got their butts in gear, and not pressing and playing a high line did not work. Coming in, I did expect a low-scoring match, but Getafe have also had some huge scoring games, so it was a matter of time before something kind of broke between these two teams. And a reminder, too, that even though Getafe does have a reputation, we know who they are owner Bordelas, they have been willing to stretch themselves out and go after teams. We saw against Atletico Madrid and other matches. So I do always remind you, I'm not telling you to watch Getafe. I would never wish that upon anybody. But sometimes when you do watch these teams outside of just the Barcelona matches, you realize that they do have their own style and ideas, and it isn't just about playing against Barcelona. For that starting 11, Lamine Yamal and Pedri getting the rest, which is great to see. Of course, I did not want to see Lamine Yamal in this game, and I got my wish. And then Pedri getting rotated as well, really important. More important than Gundogan having just gotten his rest. And even Lewandowski up top, while he is of a certain age, he doesn't do the same running that the midfielders and even the young attackers do on the wings. João Felix and Raphinha then back in for a traditional 4-3-3. Cubarsi, not the first time I'm going to say his name, playing at right center back instead of on the left. Put a pin in that. This is going to wind up being a major topic. Okay, while I did say that there would be little negative, the first 10 minutes weren't amazing. Jong has the ball taken off him, so Greenwood got a shot off from distance. And this is the only time I'm mentioning Greenwood's name, because Jules Koundé had him totally contained all night, the way I think a jail cell probably should have contained him, but that's just me. Second straight game where Koundé's level was also really, really high, so this is more about Koundé than anybody else. He didn't have that much to do, but he also didn't make any mistakes. If Koundé is getting his form back, this is now 2 games in a row that he's been really, really good, that is a great thing for this team at an important time in the season, along with Araujo potentially getting his form back as well. And while Ter Stegen was not good in this game, I have some examples for you. I thought that Araujo and Koundé improving as Ter Stegen came back, that is down to those things that you don't get to see on the television or even in the stadium. That's communication, that's trust, that's the intangible stuff that, no disrespect to Iñaki Peña, but Ter Stegen kind of has earned that leadership at the back. So even when he's not the best, it seems like things are much more fortified at the back, because Ter Stegen coming back has almost perfectly coincided with Araujo and Koundé regaining some form. Raphinha could have had something really special in the 8th minute with the flick off the corner kick, and he still had an argument for man of the match. I know the Liga gave it to him, but scoring that kind of goal could have been the first argument. For Getafe, though, Luis Milla really shining early for Getafe, a player who's the son of a former Barcelona player for a while there in the 80s, taking the ball off of Jong and being the leader on the Getafe press, when at the moment it looked like Bordelas had gotten his tactics right, and all Barcelona would do was make a mistake, and Getafe would have, we'll say, not earned, but would have gotten a 1-0 if they were able to put it on frame. Barcelona, though, were willing to go long, which is something they weren't willing to do when other teams tried to do this, and they tried to get in behind from the opening jump, particularly through João Felix. He was offside early, but the more positive thing was that he was played in by Ter Stegen. That is how you beat a high line. You defend narrow, and you attack wide, or you attack in behind through long balls. It was also helpful in the early going that Cubarsi against Mayoral, who is second in the Liga goal-scoring charts, Cubarsi won a long ball, sliding in to knock out a cross for a corner. That was the first 15 minutes. So the fact that Mayoral was trying to target Cubarsi instead of Araujo, and Cubarsi was up to it, I think that calmed Barcelona down a little bit. And that calmed them down enough, I'd say, to get the opening goal. 20 minutes in, it was build up from the back, because if you go and stretch deep, that means the opposition is prepared for either being slow build up from the back, or they don't want to get beat over the top. So a little bit of disorganization from Getafe, and then Koundé with the right ball. Raphinha also holding his run, which you have to do. You have to stay onside to beat an offside trap. Then Jene let Raphinha get inside of him on the run with no center backs in sight. Jene doesn't necessarily have the speed of a left back. He is a center back, or he's a right back. So his hips might be oriented to try to, as I always say with Cancelo, step in with his right foot, not his left foot. So Jene was beat out here. Raphinha brought it down well, pushed it forward, and finished confidently. Now Barcelona up 1-0. Headline 2 was Getafe tried to throw mud. A few minutes after that, Araujo with a skillful toe poke, and then he over-roasted the cross, almost out of excitement for his skill move, but Getafe did give moments for a center back, especially Araujo, to get forward and have a little bit of fun up there. 27th minute, outside of the boot, cross from Raphinha, Gundogan making the run to the near post, and Raphinha didn't miss him by much, and I thought this was a really good response of a game, at least in the first half, from Raphinha coming back into the starting 11, because as good as Raphinha can be, competition is not a bad thing. So if he can take the starting spot from Lamine Yamal, even if Lamine Yamal is the better player and is the future, if Raphinha for the remainder of this season can take the starting spot back from Lamine Yamal, that is nothing but a good thing for Barcelona in the short term and the long term. Unfortunately for Raphinha, people will be calling for Lamine Yamal to be starting whenever Raphinha struggles, but for Raphinha to come out and have a really good game against Getafe and potentially regain some of the form that, I don't know, he has. He's a chaotic player that the numbers every season at the end of it wind up fitting the player that he is in the good moments and not in the bad moments, because yes, in the bad moments, Raphinha can be rough. 29th minute, the former La Masia player, Illas Moriba, came alive, a dribble in the Barca's box. He got fouled, and somebody did ask me what I thought of his performance, and honestly what I've seen from him since he left Barcelona. I watched him a ton last season with Valencia, and I feel like he's at the level of the team he's playing at, that being Getafe. I had mentioned when he was first called up by Koeman, you think back to the fact that he was playing up age groups, he was physically just more prepared than players even his own age at the youth level, so always shone bright, and he was going to have to then catch up with everything. His technical ability was great, his ability to step in the midfield, to score from deep-lying positions, and at first team level, the goal scoring has basically completely fallen off a cliff. The teams he plays for, that being Valencia for the last 2 seasons and Getafe this year, don't necessarily get him in a lot of goal-scoring positions. And a lot of times his teammates don't have the technical ability to play any of that short passing that he liked to do and that he showcased. So I think for Illas Moriba, it's going to take some consistency, maybe another year or two playing about at the level at Getafe. And if he can respond well, be the best player in those squads, maybe he gets a chance for RB Leipzig, but I don't think so. I think they're going to sell him off to the next bidder. I think he's going to be returning to Spain where he is more comfortable, and we'll see what happens by the time he's 25, 26, 27. He is still so young, so there is time for him, but clearly his agent did him dirty. He was too young to know any better, and it didn't work out. They might have worked out differently for him at Barcelona, but Barca, you can't regret it. Him leaving gave room for Gabi. Maybe Gabi was going to take his spot anyway. Who knows what would have happened? But Gabi has been so far beyond what Illas Moriba was going to be for Barcelona that's where those minutes went. This is also the time in the game when things got a bit muddy for Barcelona. There were set pieces from Getafe. They slowed the game down, tactical fouls, and you don't want to give Getafe too many chances. Remember, at that moment, it was still 1-0. João Felix did well to get Barca out of trouble by getting fouled. So credit to João Felix. He had rough moments and seemed to go missing at times in this game, but also had a good moment there. 36th minute, another really nice ball by Raphinha to play João Felix in behind, and his shot was kicked away by the keeper. And playing against the high line, that meant, as I said, they were good and they're bad, but there was a bunch of opportunities for Raphinha. And there was another good build-up moments later, led by João Felix getting another shot, this time right at the keeper, so not being able to finish, and that's why people were criticizing him. Alderete was having trouble with Gundogan in that match, and there was an argument that he was pulled down, that being Gundogan, but the ref nor VAR saw it as enough. The ensuing conversations and arguments led to yellows. Glad the Barcelona were standing up for themselves. Another minute later, Lewandowski dropped in deep, playing Raphinha in. Terrible defending here by Getafe. It's basically at the halfway line. Raphinha, though, skies it over with his right foot. Again, more of the good, more of the bad with Raphinha and João Felix. And For Lewandowski, they did, that being Barcelona had another chance right before halftime. Lewandowski again playing Raphinha through, but instead of taking the shot, he tried to give João Felix the tap in. The cross had too much on it. But the most telling thing for me from the things that I just said is about Lewandowski. That for now, for the fourth straight game, that Lewandowski has been good, even if he didn't get a shot off in the match, even if there's no end product from Lewandowski, he's been essential to the way that this team is built. There's a reason why he started this match, and this is 4 straight games of him being a net positive and good. This is his best run of form for over a year now. 4 straight matches. So for Lewandowski, I hope it keeps it going. Halftime, though, because they couldn't get the 2-0 at that point, it came at the right time because Barcelona were struggling to play the ball out of the back as we neared halftime. A reminder that it was still 1-0 at that moment, so Getafe had a chance to fix all the wrongs, and this could have been another moment where Barca didn't finish their chances. Headline 3 is stick to the plan. This is where we wade back into the pool of positivity. At halftime, Getafe added a defender in Carmona. Iglesias was doing absolutely nothing on the right for Getafe, so replacing him on the wing, that changed Getafe to 5 at the back, defending to start the first half at least, because Cancelo was pulled even higher on the left to create that 3-2-5 when attacking, but Barcelona did settle back into 4-3-3, and Getafe did attempt to push Carmona forward a bit farther, so that didn't last. Cubarsi did not misplay a single ball in the first half, but he did mishit a clearance that led to a long attempt from Luis Milla that hit the post on Ter Stegen. Not great from the keeper, and the only mistake that Cubarsi, I would say, made in the entire match, because let's talk a bit about Cubarsi now. Because Getafe was not up to the level, this move to play Cubarsi at right center back instead of at left center back, that opened up so much for Barcelona. And because Xavi didn't necessarily respect the attacking force of Getafe and trusted Koundé that he could handle Greenwood on the one side, that meant that Araujo could cover for Cancelo and take Cancelo forward and believe that you're going to have more possession in their half of the field. So Xavi got it right, that his team was going to have more possession. And as I mentioned in the first 10 minutes, when De Jong kept dropping in deep, I wonder if Xavi didn't give an instruction to De Jong to say, hey, stop dropping in. Stay in the midfield, wait to receive the ball, because we have to trust Cubarsi in these situations. And Cubarsi was more than good enough with the ball at his feet. His passing is good enough, his defending in this game was good enough, and all the worry of what I talked about in the last few weeks about the wage limit and all that controversy, Real Madrid do not get players from their academy. It's years and years. Their academy kids are vets or they buy them back. So they don't get any free players coming up from their academy on low wages until they, of course, renew those deals. But they also have to earn those deals. So whatever you get from young academy players is a positive for you and your club, because they're not supposed to be achieving at that high of a level. The way that Barcelona can compete next season with a Kylian Mbappe-led Real Madrid, with Barcelona likely not being able to splash any cash on a big pivot or anything like that, it's going to be getting the most or more than you could possibly expect out of La Masia players. I'm not saying it's just La Masia players. To be able to confidently compete and contend for trophies, of course, it's going to take more big money signings to reinforce your squad. That's true. But Barcelona, for the next few seasons, until they're back in the Camp Nou and revenue is way back up, or until Laporta can get those big sponsorship deals and find the money that's not coming in somehow, some way. But until that money comes in and Barcelona's back in the Camp Nou and they're able to manage the debt that they took out and the loans they took out for the Camp Nou, and until they can figure all that out for the next 2 to 3 seasons, they're going to have to get the most out of their academy and cheap options like that, because the little money they do have is going to have to be needed to enforce a squad with players that are guaranteed to add something to the team. So having Cubarsi and Lamine Yamal playing at the level they are, which is, as I said, I've known about these kids since they were 13, but to have them exceed expectations, that is incredible for Barcelona and incredible for their future. The 2-0, 53rd minute, it starts with Cubarsi, to Gundogan, to Raphinha, to Christensen, to João Felix. I love that I got to say so many names, as I've been saying for a few weeks since I watched Bayer Leverkusen. Barcelona, they just kill me with their lack of passing sequence, especially out of the back. But this is a terrific passing sequence from Barca. It was direct. It was well spaced. There was good timing, especially. Hats off to you, Christensen, the run in behind from that pivot position. And then João Felix, the finish. One that he earned with his movement, and one that I think he was going to need if Barcelona were going to win this game. Lewandowski was offside on the possible third goal as the rain was really starting to come down. And at that point, Getafe could have muddied the game and found their way back. But fortunately, Barca didn't let that happen. 59th minute, Cubarsi dribbled away from Mayoral and played a great ball into De Jong. And it is much better when you have a center back pushing forward. And De Jong didn't have to come in behind, but just able to be there to receive and play the square ball. The sequence ended with Rico shutting down Raphinha, but still much better from Cubarsi and Jong, who had a really good day. Jong was sensational in this match, and as I said, I'm not giving credit to Cubarsi, but the way that Getafe were playing, that gave Jong the space to both dribble into, but also there was enough room in behind for him to play a few balls. And Cubarsi playing on the right was good enough with the ball at his feet that Jong didn't have to drop in as deep and almost didn't have as much time to think. And that made a better Frankie de Jong. I thought he was excellent in the match. 3-0, another one that started at the back. This time, it was de Jong who did make the long run, laid it off for Gundogan, and the pass intended for Raphinha was deflected, so a little bit of luck, but the keeper was stuck between two minds to come get it, and Raphinha back to de Jong, and the ball passed into the net, past the man on the line. So Barca up 3-0, the day is done. That means the other two headlines are pretty quick here. Headline 4, under control. 63rd minute, time for the subs. Fermin Lopez on for João Felix. At that point, Barcelona settled into second gear, and I'm fine with that. You're up 3-0. But that's also the moment that I would prefer that Xavi put in a few more subs. Alenya got in the game for Getafe at the point when he probably would have been waiting on the bench to come in for Barca. But even without the subs, I thought this was maybe the best version of Barcelona staying under control, because that is something that Kool-Aids have been dying for. You could hear the people in the stadium too. We're applauding every moment that Barcelona were under control in the second half of that game, especially when you have a lead. And I think, again, it was the best version of staying under control that we may have seen with the lead from Barcelona all of this season. 74th minute, Mayoral got his first shot of the game, but Cubarsi kept him wide, and that's where the shot went. It was wide. Mayoral may not be a name that you're waking up in a cold sweat about in La Liga, but he's been scoring in La Liga, finding the back of the net a ton, and Cubarsi and Araujo just did excellent on him. 75th minute, Fermin Lopez got the shot off another passage of play from Barca that 2 thumbs up for me. De Jong, Raphinha, and Gundogan playing keep away until the ball went to Fermin. The ball was a little bit behind him, so he got the power on it, but not the accuracy. But still, Barcelona 3-0, still peppering the goal. 76th minute then, Raphinha and Christensen off for Vitor Roque in order of Romeu. Time for Xavi to use the players that don't necessarily have as much confidence in the moment and hopefully get them some confidence late in the game. Headline 5, kept up the pressure. Some attempts into the last 10 minutes. Barcelona continuing to keep control, continuing to keep up the pressure, playing much more relaxed, up 3-0. Which you wish they would play that relaxed, up 1-0 or even 0-0, because they were the better team. They had a game plan. They knew how to expose the space that Getafe was leaving, both in behind and in the middle of the park, and they got the job done. Gundogan and Fermin and Araujo all getting forward in the later parts of the game. That's what you want to see. Put the pedal to the metal. 83rd minute, then Gundogan and Cancelo out for Pedri and Hector Fort, a player that's been on the bench for a little bit, that being Hector Fort, and you want to see him get moments in matches like this. De Jong, another late run. De Jong, definitely the man of the match in the second half. I think Raphinha was the man of the match in the first half, and I think Cubarsi, probably for me, was the man of the match for the entirety of the 90 minutes. And because Barcelona was good for 90 minutes, I think I give it in that order. Cubarsi, then De Jong, then Raphinha. 91st minute, 4-0. Cubarsi, another tremendous line-breaking pass to De Jong. That's why both of them are in this conversation for man of the match. Then the second line-breaking pass to Vitor Roque. Roque was signed at his price to be a shoot-first player, so takes a shot that the keeper stops when Fermin Lopez stays onside, finishes the deflection, and continues to have a fantastic goals in 90 rate, because Fermin Lopez doesn't play that much, and when he does play, he gets rewarded by putting the ball in the back of the net, and that is how you, if you're Fermin Lopez, continue that you're going to have a squad spot for next season. This week, there's a lot going on, so a lot to look out for. So follow me on Twitter at HiltonD13. I'm almost at 2,000 followers over there on a website that is completely broken. And then Instagram at the Barcelona Pod. And then the Barcelona Podcast. You can look us up on Patreon, at the merch store down in the description or the show notes. Merch store and Patreon are the easiest way for you to directly support the show. Always helps out. Close Facebook group, Discord, that's where the conversations are happening. And the plan for this week is to have a midweek conversation with a guest in the middle of the week somewhere, and then likely having that history collaboration coming out next weekend, almost in tandem with the match review not necessarily coming out on time against Athletic Club. So the plan is Athletic Club, don't worry about the 5 headlines. I've got the history thing coming out almost instead of, not sure if I'll do Athletic Club late, and then the show midweek. So that's what I've got on tap this week. But thanks again for listening to 5 headlines. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon, and Forza Barca.